The Bali sun felt different that morning, lighter somehow, as if the weight I'd carried for years had finally started to slip away. My phone buzzed for the third time in 10 minutes, my mother's name flashing across the screen like a warning signal. I'm Caitlin, and this is the moment I finally decided to stop being the family ATM. Darling, we really need you to wire that money today. Mom's voice dripped with her usual sugary venom. Your father's investment opportunity won't wait forever. I adjusted my sunglasses, watching the waves crash against the pristine beach. Mom, I already told you. I can't keep doing this. The last time you said it was for Marley's medical bills, but I found out she never even went to the hospital. How dare you question us, after everything we've done for you? Her tone shifted from sweet to sour in an instant. We gave you everything. Everything except freedom, I muttered, earning a sharp intake of breath from the other end. You ungrateful little... She caught herself, switching tactics. Sweetie, it's only 50,000. You make good money with your writing. This investment could help the whole family. I closed my eyes, remembering the countless times I'd heard similar promises. The emergency car repairs, the once-in-a-lifetime business opportunities, the temporary loans that never got repaid. No, Mom, not this time. If you don't help your family when we need you, don't bother calling yourself our daughter anymore. Her words cut through the tropical air like ice. My hand trembled slightly, but my voice remained steady. Is that a threat? It's a promise, Caitlin. You have until tomorrow to reconsider. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, then threw it onto the beach chair beside me. Benjamin, my best friend, who'd convinced me to take this vacation, appeared with 2 coconut drinks. That bad, huh? He handed me one, settling into the adjacent chair. They want 50 grand this time. I took a long sip. And they just threatened to disown me if I don't pay up. Jesus. Benjamin sat up straighter. What are you going to do? A strange calm washed over me as I watched a young girl building sandcastles with her father nearby. He was helping her decorate the towers with seashells, both laughing in the morning sun. You know what's funny? I said, still watching them. I've spent my whole life trying to be the perfect daughter. Every time they called, I came running. Every financial emergency, I solved. But I've never had a moment like that. I nodded toward the father and daughter. Kate. No, really. It's almost poetic. I turned to face him. They're threatening to take away something I never actually had. My phone buzzed again. This time a text from my sister Marley. Mom's furious. What did you do? I showed Benjamin the message. Watch this, I typed back. I finally said no. You're really doing this? Benjamin asked, a mix of concern and admiration in his voice. Remember that journal you found in my apartment last month? The one where I started writing down all their schemes? He nodded. I think it's time to turn those notes into something bigger. I sat up, energy coursing through me. They want to cut me off? Fine. But first, I'm going to tell my story. Our story. Every manipulation, every lie, every guilt trip. A book? Benjamin's eyes widened. That's actually brilliant. And terrifying. Exactly. I finished my drink and stood up, facing the ocean. They've spent years making me feel small. Maybe it's time to show them just how big I can be. My phone started ringing again. Dad this time. I declined the call and turned to Benjamin. Want to help me outline a memoir? He grinned, raising his coconut in a toast. To burning bridges? No, I corrected him, feeling stronger than I had in years. To building new ones. As we walked back to the hotel, my phone kept buzzing with messages and calls. For the first time in my life, I let them go unanswered. Each ignored ring felt like another brick falling from the wall they'd built around me. I'd always thought freedom would feel scary. Instead, it felt like finally being able to breathe. Tomorrow, I'd face the consequences of my decision. Tomorrow, I'd start writing the truth they never wanted told. But today? Today, I was just a woman on a beach, watching the sun set on her old life and rise on something entirely new. Benjamin bumped my shoulder playfully. You know they're going to lose their minds when they realize what you're doing, right? I smiled, thinking of the journal waiting in my hotel room. Good. It's about time someone told the story of what happens when parents treat their children like investments instead of people. The sun dipped lower on the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. It looked like fire, like freedom. The whispers hit me before I even made it through the airport terminal. Aunt Patricia, usually quick with a hug, turned her shopping cart around when she spotted me at the grocery store. Uncle Robert suddenly became very interested in his phone when we crossed paths at the coffee shop. It was like I'd become a ghost in my own hometown. They've been busy, Benjamin said, helping me unload groceries in my kitchen. Your mom's apparently been telling everyone you abandoned the family in their time of need. I snorted, shoving cereal boxes into the cupboard with more force than necessary. Of course she has. Let me guess. She left out the part about the 50 grand? Actually, he hesitated, checking his phone. According to my sister, who heard it from her yoga instructor, who's friends with your cousin Sarah, you stole money from them and ran off to Bali with your secret lover. Wow. I laughed, but it came out hollow. I got a secret lover out of this? Mom's getting creative. The doorbell rang, making us both jump. Through the peephole, I saw Marley shifting nervously on my welcome mat. Hey, she said when I opened the door, her eyes darting between Benjamin and me. Can we talk? Alone? Benjamin squeezed my shoulder as he left. Call me if you need anything. Marley perched on my couch like she was afraid to fully sit down. She looked smaller somehow, more fragile than the last time I'd seen her. They're saying horrible things about you, she blurted out. Mom's been calling everyone, crying about how you betrayed them. Dad's telling people you're having some kind of breakdown. Are you here to convince me to apologize? I asked, staying by the door. I'm here because... She twisted her hands in her lap. Because I found something. In the attic. She pulled an old leather-bound book from her bag. I was helping Mom organize, and this fell out of a box. It's Grandma Rose's journal. My heart skipped. Mom's mom? The one who supposedly abandoned them? Yeah. The thing is, Marley opened the journal, hands trembling slightly. She didn't abandon them. Mom drove her away, just like she's doing to you. I sat down next to Marley, taking the journal. The pages were filled with familiar patterns, demands for money, emotional manipulation, threats of cutting ties. There's more, Marley said quietly. Remember Cousin Rachel? How she suddenly stopped coming to family events 5 years ago? Mom said she got involved with drugs. No. Marley pulled out her phone, showing me a series of text messages. She refused to invest in Dad's foolproof business scheme. They destroyed her reputation in the family when she wouldn't pay up. A pattern was emerging, clear as day. How many others? I found 3 so far. Grandma Rose, Rachel, and Aunt Julia from Dad's side, all cut off after refusing to give them money. Marley's voice cracked. Kate, I'm scared. What if I'm next? I wrapped an arm around her shoulders. You won't be. We're going to break this cycle. How? I told her about my plan to write the memoir. Her eyes widened as I explained my vision. Not just my story, but all of them. A generational pattern of manipulation finally exposed. They'll hate it, she whispered. They already hate me. I gestured around my empty apartment. What more can they do? They're saying they're going to write you out of the will. Let them. I'd rather have my freedom than their money. Marley stood up suddenly, pacing. You don't understand. They're not just angry, Kate. They're scared. I overheard Mom on the phone with her lawyer. They've been using your money to cover up something big. Something about tax fraud. The pieces clicked into place. The desperate calls, the urgent need for cash, the public character assassination. "Can I borrow this?" I asked, holding up Grandma Rose's journal. Marley nodded. "Just be careful, okay? And Kate?" She paused at the door. "I'm sorry I didn't stand up for you sooner." After she left, I sat with the journal in my lap, running my fingers over the worn leather. My phone buzzed, a text from Benjamin with a screenshot of my mother's latest Facebook post. "A parent's heart breaks when their child chooses darkness over family. Please pray for our Caitlin." I opened my laptop and created a new document. The cursor blinked at me, waiting. I thought of Grandma Rose, of Cousin Rachel, of all the others who'd been silenced. Then I began to type, "Some families are built on love. Mine was built on loans. This is the story of how I learned that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is say no to the people who gave you life." The words flowed easily now, carrying decades of hidden truths with them. Outside, the sun was setting, but inside, something new was finally beginning to dawn. Holy shit. Benjamin leaned back in his chair, running his hands through his hair. Holy actual shit. I'd just shown him the draft of my first 3 chapters, along with the stack of evidence I'd gathered over the past week. Bank statements, old emails, Grandma Rose's journal entries, and a growing collection of testimonies from other family members who'd reached out after hearing about my breakdown. "I know," I said, spreading the documents across my dining table. "It's worse than I thought. Kate, this isn't just family drama anymore." He pointed to a series of suspicious transfers I'd uncovered. "This is fraud, like actual criminal fraud. Look at this one." I pulled out a yellowed envelope from 1995. "Remember that charity foundation Mom always bragged about running? It was a front. They were using it to hide money from the IRS. The doorbell rang, making us both jump. Through the peephole, I saw Emily, the journalist Marley had connected me with. "This is incredible material," Emily said minutes later, scanning through my notes. "But are you sure you want to publish this? It could destroy them." "They destroyed themselves," I replied, showing her another document. "Look at what they did to Grandma Rose. They drove her into bankruptcy, then told everyone she'd abandoned them." Emily whistled low. "And you can prove all of this?" "Every word." I pulled out my phone, playing a voicemail from last week. Mom's voice filled the room. "If you publish that book, we'll make sure everyone knows what kind of daughter you really are. Don't test us, Caitlin." "Classic intimidation tactics," Emily noted, scribbling in her notebook. "Have you considered they might try legal action?" "Let them." I smiled grimly. The discovery process would only uncover more dirt. Benjamin, who'd been quiet for a while, suddenly sat up straighter. "Guys, look at this." He'd been going through Grandma Rose's journal. "There's something about a property in Vermont. A lake house?" I frowned. "What lake house?" "According to this, your grandparents owned a vacation property. Your mom convinced them to sign it over to her for estate planning purposes right before they cut contact." Emily leaned forward. "Can we find records of this property?" 3 hours and several cups of coffee later, we had our answer. The lake house had been sold 2 months ago, right around the time my parents started desperately asking for money. $2.5 million, Benjamin read from the county records website, sold to an offshore company. That's why they needed the 50 grand, I realized. They were trying to cover up the sale before tax season. My phone buzzed. Marley again. "Mom's telling people you're writing lies about the family. Dad's threatening to sue anyone who talks to you." Emily closed her notebook. "This is Pulitzer-worthy material, Caitlin, but you need to be prepared for the fallout. Once this goes public, there's no going back." "I know." I walked to my window, watching the street below. But someone needs to break this cycle. How many other families are living this same nightmare? "Speaking of which," Benjamin called from my laptop, "you might want to see this." He turned the screen to show a Facebook support group, Survivors of financial family abuse. The member count was in the thousands. I've been sharing some of your story anonymously, he admitted. People are relating hard. They want to know they're not alone. Emily's eyes lit up. That's your angle. This isn't just about exposing your parents. It's about giving voice to a hidden epidemic. I sat down at my laptop, fingers hovering over the keyboard. The cursor blinked expectantly as I began a new chapter. The thing about family secrets is that they're never really secret. They're more like shadows, always there, growing longer and darker until someone finally turns on the light. That's good, Emily said softly. Keep going. The words poured out as I described the lake house scheme, the charity fraud, the pattern of isolation and control. With each paragraph, I felt lighter, freer. My phone buzzed again, an unknown number this time. The voicemail was from Cousin Rachel. I heard what you're doing. I have more documents you should see. We all kept quiet for too long. Benjamin squeezed my shoulder. You okay? I looked at the growing pile of evidence on my table, at Emily's excited note-taking, at the thousands of people in that Facebook group waiting to see their stories reflected in mine. Yeah, I said, turning back to my laptop. I'm finally okay. Outside, thunder rumbled, a storm approaching. But for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of what was coming. Sometimes the truth hits like lightning, illuminating everything that was hidden in the dark. And I was ready to light up the sky. They're going to publish it. My hands shook as I read the email from Harper and Row. They want to fast-track it for release in 3 months. Benjamin spat out his coffee. 3 months? That's insanely fast. They say the timing is perfect. There's been a surge of interest in stories about financial abuse and toxic family dynamics. I scrolled through the contract details. They want me to do a media tour. Kate! Marley burst through my front door, face flushed. Mom knows about the book deal. My stomach dropped. How? Someone at the publishing house must have leaked it. She's on the warpath. Marley collapsed onto my couch. She's called 3 different lawyers today. Let her. I handed her the contract. Look at the advance they're offering. Marley's eyes widened. Holy, that's more than Mom and Dad made on the lake house. Speaking of which, Benjamin said, pulling up his laptop, you might want to see this. He showed us a local news website. The headline read, Prominent local couple under investigation for charity fraud. It's starting, I whispered. My phone rang. Emily. Turn on Channel 7 right now. We huddled around my TV as the news anchor spoke. Breaking news. Local philanthropists Jimmy and Sophia Mann are facing allegations of financial misconduct spanning decades. Sources say the investigation was triggered by evidence provided by their daughter. Oh God, Marley whimpered. The screen cut to footage of our parents leaving their lawyer's office. Mom looked directly into the camera, her face a mask of righteous indignation. Our daughter is mentally unstable. She's fabricating lies about our family for money and attention. That's rich coming from her, Benjamin muttered. My phone exploded with notifications. The Facebook support group was going crazy, with hundreds of new members joining by the minute. Caitlin? Emily's voice crackled through the speaker. The publisher wants to move up the release date. This story is too hot to sit on. How soon? 6 weeks. They want you on Good Morning America the day it launches. I looked at Marley, who was still staring at the TV. What do you think? She turned to me, tears in her eyes. I think Grandma Rose would be proud. My phone buzzed again. A text from Dad. We raised you better than this. It's not too late to stop this madness. Before I could respond, another message came through. Your mother is heartbroken. She's had to increase her medication. Classic guilt trip, Benjamin said, reading over my shoulder. Don't let them get to you. I won't. I typed back a single word. No. The doorbell rang. This time it was Rachel, carrying a box of old documents. Found these in my attic. Bank statements from when they tried to force me to invest in that pyramid scheme. We spent the next hour going through the papers, adding new details to the manuscript. The pattern was always the same: love bombing, financial pressure, threats, then character assassination when the target refused to comply. "Ms. Fox?" a voice called from my laptop, the publisher on Zoom. "We need to discuss the media strategy. This story is exploding." As we talked through interview schedules and promotional plans, my phone kept buzzing with messages from flying monkeys, distant relatives and family friends, telling me to back down, to think about my poor parents, to remember family loyalty. "They're scared," Rachel observed. "They know their whole house of cards is about to collapse." Marley's phone chimed. She read the message and went pale. "Mom's threatening to reveal my college incident if I don't help them stop you." "What college incident?" I asked. "There isn't one, but she knows people will believe whatever she says." "Add it to the book," Emily said firmly. "Every threat, every manipulation tactic, it all proves your point." The publisher's voice cut through our discussion. "Caitlin, are you absolutely sure you want to do this? Once we start the publicity machine, there's no turning back." I looked around my living room, at Marley finding her courage, at Rachel with her box of evidence, at Benjamin's unwavering support, at Emily's determined note-taking. Then I looked at the TV, still showing clips of my parents playing victim for the cameras. "I'm sure," I said. "It's time everyone knew the truth." "Then let's make some noise," the publisher replied. "Your parents want attention? Let's give them more than they bargained for." As if on cue, my phone lit up with another text from Mom. "You'll regret this, darling. Family secrets should stay in the family." I smiled, thinking of the manuscript waiting to be released. "Sorry, Mom," I muttered, "but some secrets don't deserve to be kept." Breaking Ties, a daughter's story of financial abuse and family manipulation, hit #1 on Amazon within hours of its release. I stared at the rankings on my phone, trying to process what was happening. "Look at these reviews." Benjamin scrolled through his tablet. Finally, someone put into words what I've been living through. "This book saved my life." I thought I was the only one. The doorbell rang. Flowers from the publisher. Another delivery arrived minutes later, hate mail from one of Mom's friends. The contrast was almost poetic. "Caitlin?" Emily rushed in, barely knocking. "Good morning, America wants you tomorrow. Your parents just agreed to appear." My heart stopped. "What?" "They're playing it as a family reconciliation opportunity." She handed me her phone, showing their public statement. "We love our daughter and want to heal our family. We hope she'll accept our olive branch on national television." "It's a trap," Marley said from the doorway. She looked exhausted. "They've hired a PR firm. They're going to try to discredit you live on air." My phone buzzed. Mom's first direct contact in weeks. "Darling, let's handle this like adults. Come on the show. We can work this out as a family." Benjamin snorted. "Yeah, because they handled things so well in Chapter 7 of your book." "That's actually perfect," Emily said, pacing. "The whole country will be watching. If they try their usual manipulation tactics, everyone will see it happening in real time," I finished. The next morning, I sat in the Good Morning America makeup chair, watching the monitor as my parents arrived at the studio. Mom was wearing her favorite victim outfit, soft pastels, pearl necklace, carefully dabbed tears in her eyes. "Ready?" the producer asked, adjusting my microphone. "Born ready." The segment started with the host introducing us. In a story that's captivated America, author Caitlin Fox's memoir about financial abuse and family manipulation has sparked a national conversation. Today, we have both Caitlin and her parents here to discuss. Mom jumped in before he could finish. "We just want our daughter back. We've always loved her so much." "Really?" I kept my voice steady. "Is that why you tried to blackmail Marley last week?" Dad's face reddened. Now, sweetheart, you're twisting things. Like you twisted Grandma Rose's story? Or Cousin Rachel's? Or the lake house sale? The host leaned forward. Can you elaborate on the lake house situation? Gladly. I pulled out documents from my folder. These show how my parents sold a $2.5 million property through an offshore company to avoid taxes. That's why they needed my money, to cover their tracks. These are private family matters. Mom's voice rose an octave. This is what mental illness looks like. Is that your response to the ongoing federal investigation too? Dead silence in the studio. The host's eyes widened. What federal investigation? He asked. The one into their fraudulent charity foundation. I handed him more documents. They've been using it as a personal piggy bank for decades. That's enough. Dad stood up. We came here to reconcile. No, I corrected him. You came here to control the narrative. But you can't control me anymore. Mom's tears disappeared instantly. After everything we've done for you. You mean like threatening to disown me? Or spreading rumors about drug abuse? Or trying to sabotage my book release? The host looked at my parents. Would you like to respond to these allegations? Mom's face transformed into the sweet, concerned mother act I knew so well. We only wanted to protect her. She's clearly going through something. My phone buzzed on my lap. A message from Marley. The FBI just arrived at their house with a warrant. I held up my phone to show my parents. Their faces went pale. I think we're done here, Dad said quickly, starting to stand. Actually, the host interjected, we have another guest joining us. Rose? The studio door opened and my grandmother walked in. Mom's mouth fell open. Hello, Sophia, Grandma Rose said quietly. It's been a while. The next few minutes were chaos. Mom tried to leave. Dad started yelling about lawyers, and Grandma Rose calmly detailed 20 years of their manipulation and fraud to millions of viewers. After the segment, Emily found me in the green room. Your book just hit the New York Times bestseller list. The publisher wants to double the print run. And Mom and Dad? She checked her phone. Currently being questioned by federal agents about the charity foundation. I sat down, suddenly exhausted. Did I do the right thing? Check your email, Benjamin said from the doorway. He'd been watching from the studio audience. I opened my inbox to find thousands of messages from readers sharing their own stories of family financial abuse. One line caught my eye. You gave me the courage to finally say no to my abusers. That's your answer, Emily said softly. You didn't just tell your story. You gave voice to all of us who've been silenced. Outside the studio, reporters were gathering, waiting for comments. But for the first time in my life, I didn't feel any pressure to explain or justify myself. The truth was already out there, printed in black and white for everyone to see. The courthouse steps were packed with reporters when my parents arrived for their initial hearing. Mom had traded her pastels for a somber black suit, playing the role of persecuted mother perfectly. Mrs. Mann, what do you say to the allegations? A reporter thrust a microphone in her face. We're heartbroken that our daughter would fabricate such horrible lies, she said, dabbing at her eyes. But we forgive her. Fabricate? Grandma Rose's voice cut through the crowd. She stood beside me, straight-backed and fierce. Should we show them the bank records, Sophia? Mom's face went white. She hadn't expected her mother to be here. Inside the courtroom, Emily sat with her notebook while Benjamin and Marley flanked me protectively. The prosecutor laid out the evidence: decades of financial manipulation, tax fraud, and charity mismanagement. Your Honor, Mom's lawyer began, this is simply a family dispute that's gotten out of hand. My clients— Your clients, the prosecutor interrupted, used their charitable foundation to hide over $3 million in personal expenses. We have the receipts. Dad's face turned an alarming shade of red. That money was for family emergencies, like the lake house sale you tried to hide. The prosecutor projected bank statements onto a screen. Or the multiple attempts to extort money from your daughter. We never extorted, Mom started. Play the tape, I whispered to Emily. She nodded to the prosecutor, who pressed play. Mom's voice filled the courtroom. If you don't give us the money, we'll tell everyone about your drug problem. Don't test us, Caitlin. That's been taken out of context. Mom stood up, her composure cracking. Like you took Grandma Rose's story out of context? Marley spoke up, her voice shaking but clear. Or Cousin Rachel's? The judge peered over his glasses. I understand there are additional witnesses. Rachel stood up in the gallery, along with 3 other relatives. Each had their own story of financial manipulation and threats. Your Honor, Mom's lawyer tried again, my clients are respected members of the community who used their charity to fund personal vacations, the prosecutor countered, who pressured family members for money through emotional manipulation and blackmail, who committed tax fraud to hide their assets. Dad suddenly leaned forward. We can make this right. Caitlin, tell them to drop the charges. We're family. Family. I stood up. Family doesn't threaten. Family doesn't manipulate. Family doesn't destroy people who say no. You ungrateful. Mom caught herself, remembering where we were. Sweetie, we only wanted what was best for you. No, Grandma Rose said. You wanted what was best for yourselves. Just like you did with me. The judge called for order as Mom's lawyer requested a brief recess. In the hallway, their PR consultant whispered urgently to them. They're going to try to cut a deal, Emily predicted. Your book's success has them terrified of a public trial. She was right. Within minutes, their lawyer approached with an offer. They'd plead guilty to reduced charges if I agreed to a public reconciliation statement. Absolutely not, I said. Think about it, the lawyer pressed. You could have your family back. I already have my family. I looked at Marley, Benjamin, Grandma Rose, Rachel, and all the others who'd stood by me. The real one. Back in the courtroom, Mom made one last attempt. Your Honor, we admit we made mistakes, but we acted out of love. Love? I couldn't help laughing. Was it love when you bankrupted Grandma Rose? When you blackmailed Rachel? When you tried to destroy my reputation? The judge had heard enough. He set a trial date and denied their request to travel. Outside, reporters swarmed again. This time, I stepped up to the microphone. To everyone who's been controlled, manipulated, or financially abused by family, you're not alone. Your story matters. Your no matters. Mom tried to approach me, but Marley and Benjamin formed a wall between us. Caitlin, please, she called out. We can fix this. I turned to face her. You're right, Mom. We can fix this. But not through manipulation or deals or public statements. Through truth. Through consequences. Through change. You'll regret this, Dad growled. When this is all over... It's already over, Grandma Rose interrupted. You just haven't accepted it yet. As we left the courthouse, my phone buzzed with notifications. The support group had grown to over 50,000 members. Messages poured in from people finding their own courage to stand up to financial abuse. You okay? Benjamin asked softly. I watched my parents huddled with their lawyers, their carefully constructed world crumbling around them. For the first time, they looked small. Yeah, I said. I really am. Emily checked her phone. Today's hearing is already trending. People are calling it a watershed moment for family financial abuse awareness. Good, I said, stepping into the sunlight. It's time these shadows saw some light. They want to make a deal. Emily burst into my apartment, waving her phone. Your parents' lawyers just called. They're offering full restitution to everyone they've scammed, including Grandma Rose. I looked up from my laptop, where I'd been responding to reader emails. What's the catch? They want you to sign an agreement saying the book was dramatized for entertainment purposes. She made air quotes with her fingers. And they want you to do a joint interview saying you've reconciled. Not happening. I closed my laptop firmly. Kate, Marley rushed in, barely catching her breath. Have you seen Dad's Facebook post? Benjamin pulled it up on his phone and read aloud. To my beloved daughter, your mother and I are ready to take responsibility for our mistakes. We've lost everything that matters. Please, let us make amends. It's getting traction, Emily noted. People love a redemption story. My phone rang, a number I didn't recognize. Hello? Caitlin, darling. Mom's voice, honey-sweet and desperate. We're selling the house. Everything we own. We'll make it right. Like you made it right with Grandma Rose? I've apologized to my mother, she said quickly. We've been talking. Haven't we, Mom? I heard Grandma Rose in the background. Don't drag me into your manipulation, Sophia. You're not even sorry, I realized. You're just sorry you got caught. That's not true. We've changed. I hung up. Seconds later, texts started flooding in. Dad, we're losing everything because of you. Mom, is this what you wanted? To destroy your family? Unknown numbers from flying monkeys. They're your parents. How could you? They're getting desperate, Benjamin observed. The trial's in 2 weeks, and their PR campaign isn't working. Rachel arrived with lunch and more news. They tried to contact me too. Offered to repay everything they took if I'd speak on their behalf at the trial. What did you say? Marley asked. I told them to shove their blood money where the sun doesn't shine. Rachel grinned. Felt good. My phone buzzed again. Emily's editor. Turn on CNN. We crowded around my TV. Mom and Dad were doing a live interview, looking appropriately contrite. We've made terrible mistakes, Mom said, tears flowing perfectly. We just want our daughter back. What about the federal charges? The interviewer asked. We're taking full responsibility, Dad insisted. We've already started repaying everyone. With what money? Benjamin scoffed. They're broke. My phone lit up. Grandma Rose. They just tried to get me to sign over my pension rights. Don't believe a word. The interviewer turned tough. Your daughter's book describes decades of systematic financial abuse. How do you respond? We were trying to keep the family together, Mom pleaded. Sometimes parents make mistakes out of love. That's not love, I muttered. As if hearing me, the interviewer pressed harder. Multiple family members have corroborated her story. Bank records show systematic fraud. How is that love? Dad's mask slipped. You don't understand what it's like to have an ungrateful child who... Mom elbowed him hard, but it was too late. The mask had cracked. There it is, Emily said softly. The real them. My phone rang again. The publisher. Caitlin, we've had an idea. What if we added a final chapter? Show how they're still trying to manipulate even now. I looked around my living room. At Marley finding her strength, at Rachel standing tall, at Benjamin's unwavering support, at Emily's determined documentation of truth. No, I said finally. Let the book stand as it is. Let them dig their own grave. The TV showed my parents leaving the CNN studio, faces tight with barely controlled rage. Their PR consultant looked ready to quit. They'll try again, Marley warned. They always do. Let them, I said. Every attempt just proves my point. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Mom. We're doing a press conference tomorrow. Last chance to make this right. I typed back. It is right. Finally. Benjamin ordered champagne. Rachel pulled out board games. Marley called for pizza. Emily kept taking notes, but she was smiling now. You know what's funny? I said, watching my chosen family gather around. They thought they could break me by taking away their love. They never realized they'd already taught me how to live without it. Outside, reporters were probably gathering for tomorrow's press conference. My parents would try one last time to spin their story. But in here, surrounded by real love and genuine support, none of that mattered anymore. The truth had won. And the truth, unlike my parents' love, didn't come with strings attached. The gavel's sharp crack echoed through the courtroom. In the matter of financial fraud and charitable organization mismanagement, this court finds the defendants guilty on all counts. Mom swayed in her seat. Dad's face turned ashen. Their perfect facade finally shattered completely. Before sentencing, the judge continued, would the victims like to make statements? I stood first, my hands steady, my voice clear. I'm not here to ask for harsh punishment. I'm here to break a cycle. Mom tried to catch my eye, but I focused on the judge. My parents taught me that love comes with a price tag. That family means endless obligation. That saying no makes you ungrateful. Caitlin, please, Mom whispered. But they taught me something else, too. I turned to face them directly. They taught me what real love isn't, and that helped me recognize what it is. Grandma Rose stood next. My daughter chose money over family. I chose freedom. Today, justice chooses truth. One by one, others stood. Rachel, cousins, family friends, each sharing their story of manipulation and liberation. The judge adjusted his glasses. Mr. and Mrs. Mann, your actions show a pattern of calculated abuse disguised as parental care. This court sentences you to 5 years in federal prison, with mandatory restitution to all victims. Dad exploded. This is ridiculous. We're the victims here. Our own daughter. Remove the defendants, the judge ordered. As they were led away, Mom called out, We still love you, darling. We'll always. The doors closed behind them, cutting off her last attempt at manipulation. Outside the courthouse, Emily was already updating her article. The support group has reached 100,000 members. Your story is changing lives. Benjamin hugged me tight. You did it. We did it, I corrected him, looking at our gathered circle of support. Marley approached, tears streaming. I found more documents in their study, records of everyone they've hurt. Should we? No, I said firmly. The book stands as it is. Let others tell their own stories now. My phone buzzed. A message from my publisher. Ready to start your speaking tour? Domestic violence shelters want you to talk about financial abuse recognition. Do it, Rachel encouraged. Think how many people you could help. A reporter approached cautiously. Ms. Fox, how does it feel to win? This wasn't about winning, I replied. It was about truth, about showing people they're not alone. And your parents? Will you visit them in prison? Before I could answer, Grandma Rose stepped forward. My daughter chose her path. Now she'll walk it without using others as stepping stones. Back at my apartment, we gathered for what Benjamin called our freedom feast. Pizza, wine, and honest conversation, things that had been in short supply in my old family. I have something to show you, Marley said, pulling out her phone. Remember that support group? They've started a resource network. People helping other people escape financial abuse. Emily looked up from her laptop. Your book's being translated into 12 languages. People worldwide are sharing similar stories. Toast? Benjamin raised his glass. To chosen family. To truth, Rachel added. To freedom. Grandma Rose smiled. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Dad's lawyer. They're willing to accept responsibility in exchange for reduced sentences. They ask only that you acknowledge their love was real. I showed the message to everyone. Marley squeezed my hand. What will you say? Looking around at my true family, the one I chose, the one that chose me, I typed, their love was real to them, but so were their chains. I choose to live without either. Then I turned off my phone and rejoined the celebration. Through the window, I could see the city lights twinkling. Somewhere out there, other daughters and sons were finding their courage, their voice, their truth. You know what's weird? I said to no one in particular. I thought exposing them would feel like revenge, but it feels more like revolution. That's because it is, Emily replied. You didn't just tell your story. You started a movement. Marley raised her glass. To movements. To freedom, Benjamin echoed. To love without price tags, Rachel added. To truth without manipulation, Grandma Rose smiled. I looked at my chosen family, my heart full. To us, outside, the night was clear and bright. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new stories, new opportunities to help others find their voice. But tonight, in this moment, surrounded by real love and genuine support, I was exactly where I needed to be. Free.